those of you that know, there's a journalist. This is what we know. So there's this journalist, Khashoggi. Some people pronounce it Khashoggi and Khashoggi as well. I'm not sure exactly. I've seen the Arabic and it seems to be Khashoggi, like that. So Khashoggi, this journalist who was at one time pretty tight with the royal family, seems to have become on bad. He seems to have ended up on bad terms. We don't exactly know what. I mean, we know he'd made some tweets in the past, and really those tweets don't warrant what's happened, so it couldn't be that. Just some tweets, saying that maybe the king is being too harsh or things like this. Nevertheless, he lives in the West somewhere, but he was in Istanbul, and he turns up to he's a Saudi national as well, expat, and he turns up to the Saudi Consulate, and apparently he is then assassinated, but in horrific kind of ways and measures. So apparently a team of assassins, and I'm talking something out of Hostel, the movie Hostel. I'm talking like Jigsaw, out of Saw. This is some horrific stuff. This ain't your usual kind of like, here's an assassin who's going to take a long distance shot and sniper shot and kill this person. They sent apparently this guy called Mutarib, some colonel or somebody, and there was a team of a dozen plus assassins that have turned up on this guy came on a private jet. They turn up to this to the consulate where Khashoggi is there, and they don't sedate him, but they give him he drugs him with something that will keep him alive but pacify him. And then whilst he's alive, this Mutarib character severs and cuts his limbs off, like he's chopping him into pieces whilst keeping him alive. And then this ordeal, this horrific kind of something out of a horror movie, lasts for 7 minutes before Khashoggi is killed, before he dies eventually. I mean, what they've exactly done, we don't know exactly the details. Apparently there's an audio recording somehow. Once again, how did this recording take place? We're not too sure. Some people claim to have a recording. Was Khashoggi himself making an audio recording that had a link somewhere that people were listening into? Was the consulate, did it have a recording? Was somebody recording? There seem to be witnesses that claim that they could hear him screaming, and they've reported this to the police. His body is missing, so they then cut him up. This Mutarib character, he seems to have been he seems to be quite elite on the Saudi scene, to the extent that he is responsible or part of what set up a 7-minute autopsy for people visiting Hajj that die during the Hajj. So as you can imagine, the Hujjaj that turn up to the Hajj, if somebody dies and there's such a large quantity of them, you can't have them hanging around in hospitals waiting on coroner reports. So they had created a system where they had a mobile autopsy team clinic. That clinic had a 7-minute turnaround program that apparently was designed, or one of the key pioneers in it was this Mutarib person. So they could do a complete autopsy within 7 minutes, cut out the necessary organs, do whatever they got to do, and done. And this person can now be buried or taken away. That was designed for Hujjaj, for people coming on the Hajj. Once again, directed or led by Mutarib. Now, Mutarib is the person that flies in. He's seen as landing on a private jet in Istanbul. He's the person who turns up to the consulate. He's the person who's allegedly on this recording, drugging and then killing Khashoggi in a 7-minute ordeal as well. So there's great parallels, and doing so in a horrific way. And he's saying sick things, like he's saying things like to the team around him that, guys, apparently he puts earphones in whilst he's cutting him, and he says that this is what you guys should do. So he's talking to his team and he's telling them, guys, I always like to listen to music when I do this. And he's kind of just like in a movie, people, this is like some jigsaw stuff going on. This is Saw on that scale in real time. That's what it is. This is Hostel, people. That's what we're looking at now. That kind of horror genre in reality. Now, so then apparently Mutrib is seen leaving the country on a diplomatic passport, dragging away some heavy bags. Did they contain the dismembered body parts of Khashoggi? Is that what he did? He flew out of the country with him? Because there is no trace. Initially, this became a huge issue because it got leaked to the public. There was a public outcry that what on earth is going on? How are Saudi elite kind of people, representatives, turning up in our country, in Turkey, this is the Turks saying, and conducting such acts of extrajudicial killings and assassinations and torture in Istanbul? Initially, the Saudi consulate and representatives denied any such action and said Khashoggi came to the consulate, and as far as we're aware, he left safe and sound. What happened to him outside in Istanbul is none of our business. Donald Trump is also weighs in on this and initially says, yep, that sounds plausible. That's Donald Trump saying, well, the Saudi consulate is saying he came and left, so that sounds plausible. Then the pressure gets cranked up that, wait a minute, if he left the consulate, then show us the CCTV footage of him leaving the consulate. Show us, because he's coming in. We can see that. Show us where he's leaving. So because as the international pressure starts to rise, and Britain as well withdrew from some of the deals with Saudi Arabia, international pressure was being applied. Then the Saudi authorities say, oh, now following our investigation, the recent thing they've said is, right, they said, our bad, my bad, we got this wrong. You're right, he seems to have died whilst getting into a fight with someone in the consulate. That's all we know so far. So it's like, well, okay, because initially the Saudis had said, if there is no body, there is no crime. And they had said, where's the body? We need a body. We need Khashoggi's body. And there was no body. So initially they were saying, there is no crime because there is no body. So this is, now they've said, well, apparently he was killed, we think, but he got into some fight. We don't know. We're investigating further. And the question is, well, wait a minute. If he was killed in the consulate, where the hell did his body go? And then the question is that how could have this happened without Saudi authorization? The next question is, were the Turks in on it? Because how does this happen? And then some claims that are being thrown around is America's in on it too, because this so this leads to a greater question mark, that why, what was the reason to do all of this? Because it couldn't have been those stupid tweets that are old. I mean, they're not going to do all of this over some tweets. So some new findings have exposed that there was a hacking software that was purchased in the recent past. I think the company was was it a Greek company, or there was was it Cypriot? But there was it was a European company, I believe. But there was a hacking company that dealt in hacking, it dealt in creating hacking software for governments that could then tap into persons of interest by sending them emails or doing things by which they could access their phones, switch them on as they will, switch on the microphone. They could copy all the contents. They could see what's on their screen. As recently, Saudi Arabia purchased this hacking software. The person in control of this transaction, or that one of the people that kind of oversaw this transaction and was one of the representatives, was this Mutarib character. He is seen as one of the people involved in managing that transaction. The question then was, using this software, this is now speculation, did the Saudis uncover something that Khashoggi was doing on his phone? Was he about to reveal something? He was a journalist. Was he working on something that they uncovered that would have been massively problematic? Therefore, they dispatched an assassin team to assassinate him and torture him. I mean, because the torture as well, I mean, one is to assassinate him, but one is the way they did it in such a brutal... It obviously was to teach a lesson at the same time to other people that maybe that will come to learn of this, to say, well, you guys, this is an example that we're setting. So what was all of this about? So there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, and this is all going on, but I mean, I'm finding it just at the same time shocking as, whoa, just like, what on earth is going on here? So I suppose we'll keep tuned and learn, but it is definitely very fascinating. That, I mean, it's fascinating to see how such things are being done in the open. It's crazy, people. It's crazy. Whoa, that's the Khashoggi. Saudi did it. US gave them help beforehand. Don't know why Turkey would. Exactly, I have no idea. Who wants a vacation in Saudi Arabia? What kind of a vacation is that to Saudi Arabia? That's something I'd never want to do. Right, Sajida Madni, alright, driving, alright, ahlan wa sahlan. MBS just wanted some entertainment. I don't know, I don't know. I'm just so, I don't know. I'm just so intrigued by all of this, and I suppose time will tell.